Welcome one and all, I am back. It's your not so good friend Waifu Collector here, and today, as you may have guessed, we're gonna be talking about Street Fighter 6. More specifically, I wanted to talk about characters in the Street Fighter franchise that I think should make a playable appearance in Street Fighter 6. Now, obviously, if you've been keeping up with Street Fighter 6 news, then you likely saw the full launch roster leak that happened a while back. So for this particular list of characters that I want to see, I will stick to only unconfirmed Street Fighter 6 characters. That is to say, characters who were not in the leaked roster. So pretty much these are characters I want to see as DLC already. Because there is no longer any mystery to who's in the launch roster. And honestly, ignoring the launch roster doesn't really affect my want list at all. I think there's literally one character in the launch roster that otherwise would have made this list. And remember, these are just my personal ones. So, I'm just here to have a bit of fun, and the characters aren't really in any particular order or anything either. So anyway, I'll try not to waste your time further, so let's go ahead and get into this. Now, to start things off, the first person I'd like to see in Street Fighter 6 is C. Viper. I mean, it's C. Viper. What else is there that really needs to be said? She is too cool, too well designed, and too much of a waifu to be left in Street Fighter 4. I honestly think she's just as much of a well-executed character as Juri, a Street Fighter 4 fan favorite. But because Viper doesn't have her toes exposed and she doesn't have the crazy girl trope, fans are just sort of like, whatever. But me, I'd love to see Crimson Viper come back. I think she looks so cool in Street Fighter 6. I'd love to see what changes and updates they'd make to her in pretty much all aspects, the lore, gameplay, and design. Not to mention, she'd probably have some fire costumes, but that's all. Just bring C. Viper back. Let's move on. Now, here's another character that I genuinely feel deserves to return in Street Fighter 6. It's Makoto. I know she was in Street Fighter 4, but first off, Street Fighter 4 was a really long time ago. But maybe even more importantly, we are now in an era where Street Fighter characters don't just come back as the exact same thing they were before, Street Fighter 5 and now 6 have seen some substantial default look changes, not to mention we're now even getting new additions to long-standing character kits, and not just in the form of the latest gameplay gimmick like V-Triggers. I honestly now feel like if you weren't in Street Fighter 5, then you haven't even been graced by the new, more modern era of Street Fighter that isn't so adverse to change. It's almost like you don't even exist anymore. And with Street Fighter 6 now seemingly going all in on modernization from the off, like Street Fighter 5 should have, instead of half-stepping into it and launching with the wet thud, now is the perfect time for long off characters to get reintroduced, and I have no doubt that Makoto would just be so fucking cool in Street Fighter 6. Like I said, she deserves it, and I think long-standing fans want her back. I just really want to see what a modern take on Makoto looks like, Give me RE Engine Makoto. But now, let's move on. Moving on to a character that would be very obvious of me to want if you knew me at all, and it's fine if you don't know me, but you'll get to know me. We'll talk over dinner or something, huh? Okay, but that obvious character is Sakura. I want Sakura. There's no complicated reasoning here. This is my favorite Street Fighter character. This is my favorite waifu of all time. So put her in Street Fighter 6. I will pay whatever it costs. That's not true. I'm very poor, but I will pay a maximum of $20. I know, I'm a regular Mr. Moneybags. And yeah, I know she was just in Street Fighter 5 and was DLC, so they might skip her for this one, but I don't care. Do what I say, Capcom, and put Sakura in Street Fighter 6, then write that she has a baby with Ryu, then put their kid in Street Fighter 7. I demand it. Okay, moving on. Next on my want list is Dudley. My reasons are simple and selfish. For one, I don't like the other boxers in Street Fighter. I don't like Balrog. I don't like Ed. They're not cool to me. I don't want to play them. I don't like how they play. And Ed is also one of the most unappealing characters from Street Fighter V. Just no, okay? Give me a boxer with some class. And you know what? I used to kick ass with Dudley in Street Fighter 4, you know? That's my guy. Give him back to me. It's that simple. I want Dudley, okay? I'm moving on. Now, I don't know who needs to hear this next one, but I'm sure someone does. G deserves to return in Street Fighter 6. Yes, I know he was just in 5. He's that deserving. Similar to Rashid. Rashid deserves his Street Fighter 6 spot, and so does G. G immediately caught everyone's eye in that arcade edition trailer for Street Fighter 5. He definitely caught mine anyway. And that's saying something for me because Sakura was in that trailer, and yes, I was excited to see her, but shortly after she appeared, they quickly flashed a brand new character in my face who looked like a mashup of Uncle Sam and Abraham Lincoln. I immediately wanted to know who he was, and my intrigue only grew when they told me his name was just G. And he only became more intriguing when his similarities to Q started to stick out, alongside the fact that he was walking around in-game spouting off rhetoric about how he was the president of the world. And he's just sort of left dangling in this ambiguous place where you wonder if he's a villain or not. My point is, G was fucking amazing and a standout character among the Street Fighter V roster. I want more added onto him and revealed about him ASAP. So give us G, alright? Now let's move on. So this next one might be a bit of a shocker. It's Remy. I feel like most of the fan base forgets that Remy even exists, and that includes me. There probably isn't any playable Street Fighter character that I forget as often as Remy. I don't even know what Remy does. I don't know how he plays or anything. I don't remember shit about Remy. So you may be asking, then why in the bloomin' hell do I want Remy in Street Fighter 6? Well, it's sort of because of all the things I just said in a way. You see, Remy is one of the still fair amount of characters from Street Fighter 3 who hasn't made an appearance ever since, and he's probably the most forgettable and irrelevant of them all. And bringing him back would be a cinch. You can do whatever you want and nobody cares, and his base character trait of looking like some edgelord with bright hair is pretty easy to translate. Way easier than trying to make, like, I don't know, Necro not come off as entirely too weird in the RE engine and Street Fighter 6, you know? So I just think having an almost blank slate with nearly forgotten legacy aspects could be really cool, and I'd love to see it, but you know, that's all for Remy. Now we get into some of the more long shot hopes of mine, but we'll ease into it with someone only sorta kinda crazy, you know, that character being Violent Ken. As I understand it, this is Ken after being brainwashed by M. Bison via Psycho Power. And Violent Ken's existence in only the most niche and or inaccessible corners of the Street Fighter catalog make me want this character in Street Fighter 6 so bad. Like, Violent Ken was in a manga, then in animation, then he was in SNK versus Capcom, which isn't readily available anywhere. You have to emulate it. And then they put him in Ultra Street Fighter 2, the final challengers or whatever. Like, why do I have to play some stupid HD cash grab of an old ass game on the Nintendo Switch of all places just so I can be Violent Ken? Fuck this shit, man. Oh my god. In summation, I want Violent Ken in Street Fighter 6. Put him in a real game, huh? Maybe? Okay. Anyway, as promised, let's move on to some shit that definitely isn't getting in the game. But I don't care. I want it. Who do I want? I want Tiffany Lords from Rival Schools or Project Justice or whatever the fuck it's called. I want Tiffany. As you no doubt know, Rival Schools and Street Fighter have always shared a universe, but in Street Fighter V, the long dead franchise Rival Schools was given new purpose with the addition of Akira as DLC. much like how the dead Final Fight franchise characters were recycled and made useful as Street Fighter characters. I'm hoping we see the same thing here with more and more Rival Schools characters hopefully being added to Street Fighter going forward, and I hope the continuation begins with Tiffany Lords, the boxing cheerleader waifu. Make this happen, Capcom, and I'll owe you one. I'm not a powerful person and don't have much to offer you, but maybe I can pick up your mail or something, I don't know. Walk your dog or some shit. You know, that sounds about fair, yeah. I get a character and you get your dog walked. Yeah, that's fair. Anyway, on to the next. And the next is Ingrid. I just think Ingrid has a fascinating history as a character and in her origin, and the ambiguity of her even being canon is another fascinating aspect. I just think it would be really cool to bring her back and really nail down her place in the lore, because that's where most of my want is coming from, an interest in her lore. I like the idea that she's this all-powerful being, and I'd like to see them like fully kind of run with that idea. Even if they just made her a secret hidden boss god girl thing, that'd be fucking awesome to me. Although obviously I'd rather play the character than just fight her, but either way I'd love to see her return and be properly applied to the Street Fighter canon. But now on to my final want/hope for Street Fighter 6. A hope that I know some people do not want. That hope is that Street Fighter 6 adds a guest character. They are the last holdout of the big boy fighting games, and I'd love to see them finally just join in the fun, because I shouldn't have to say this, but collab games don't count. That's just everybody's character in one thing, and while that's really cool in its own way, there's another type of cool attached to honoring a character by putting them in your environment and crafting them in such a way that makes them feel right at home in your game, but still has what made that character originally special, you know? And I honestly don't even care if it's someone they've already done a crossover game with. Although I'd prefer if it wasn't if I had to choose. And also, please don't be a collab with yourself. That doesn't count at all. If it's, Morgan from Darkstalkers and Street Fighter 6, like, whoop-de-fucking-do. You're playing with your own toys. Congrats. I don't give a fuck. I want an actual collab, and while I'm adding preferences, it's 100% cooler when the character isn't from a fighting game. That's always such a fucking fun thing to see. I know a lot of you guys out there hate fun and are like, no, guest characters are too goofy or whatever, but we didn't put up with 35 years of characters' eyes popping out of their heads when they get hit for you guys to suddenly need Street Fighter to be wildly serious. And the thing is, guest characters don't hurt the games they're in, or the seriousness or the stories, because they don't need to be incorporated into the story. They're just a fun, non-canon extra character to play as. If you want to add them into your story like Tekken did with Akuma, then that's cool too, but it can always just be RoboCop in Mortal Kombat. I promise you he's not in the story mode. He's not shooting out Johnny Cage's kneecaps on the streets of Detroit or anything. It is not integral to anything. So yeah, Street Fighter, guest character, do it. It's time to grow up. Stop looking at the little fighting games who still think it's the 90s. Those aren't your peers. Don't do what they do. You're bigger than them and better than them. Join your big boy brethren and do the right thing. Go and get a guest. It's fun. It's cool. And most importantly to Capcom, it will make money. So, yeah. That's all I've got for you guys. Feel free to tell me who you want in Street Fighter 6. I'd love to see your want list. It probably has Sean on it. A lot of people want Sean, and I'm not gonna lie, he probably deserves it, but it's my personal want list, and I'm not a huge Sean fan, so I left him off. But yeah, let me know your list. And if you think Street Fighter 6 should have a guest character like I do, who are some of the characters you'd like to see? Again, I'd rather it not be a fighting game character, but I wouldn't be mad if we just randomly got Soul Bad Guy or some shit in there. That'd be fucking wild to look at. Soul Bad Guy in RE Engine sounds cursed as fuck. But anyway, stay tuned to the channel because very soon I'll be going over my list of characters I absolutely do not want in Street Fighter 6. But until then, I am Waifu Selector. I am just a normal guy. I like hentai, and I want a guest character in Street Fighter 6. Goodbye.